Chapter 1. The Mysterious Map. It was a bright and breezy morning aboard the Sea Serpent, Captain Jolly Roger's prized ship. The crew was in high spirits, as the calm seas and gentle winds made for smooth sailing. Captain Jolly Roger, with his trusty spyglass in hand, stood at the bow of the ship, scanning the horizon for any sign of adventure. Suddenly, something caught his eye, a glimmer of light reflecting off the water. He focused his spyglass and spotted a bottle bobbing on the waves, sealed tightly with a cork and a faded piece of parchment inside. "Avast, me hearties!" Captain Jolly Roger bellowed, his voice booming across the deck. "It looks like we've found ourselves a message in a bottle." The crew gathered around as the captain fished the bottle out of the sea. With a few quick twists, he uncorked it and carefully pulled out the parchment. The map inside was old and weathered, its edges frayed and its ink faded, but it was unmistakably a treasure map. The crew's excitement grew as they huddled around to get a closer look. The map was filled with riddles and clues, written in a looping, elegant script. There were cryptic symbols, strange markings, and an X that marked the spot on Pirate Island, a place long rumored to be filled with hidden treasures and ancient puzzles. "Looks like we've got ourselves a treasure hunt," exclaimed First Mate Polly, the clever parrot who perched on the captain's shoulder. Her bright feathers ruffled with excitement as she studied the map. Captain Jolly Roger nodded, his eyes gleaming with the thrill of adventure. "Aye, Polly, this be no ordinary treasure. It be the legendary loot of Pirate Island. But it seems we'll have to solve these puzzles if we're to claim it." The crew, a motley band of quirky pirates, cheered in agreement. Tiny Tim, the gentle giant, gave a hearty laugh, while Sneaky Pete, the master of disguise, twirled his bandana with a mischievous grin. And so, the decision was made. The crew would set sail for Pirate Island, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With the map in hand and the promise of untold riches spurring them on, they sailed towards the horizon, unaware of the adventures and the laughter that awaited them. Chapter 2. The Talking Trees. The Sea Serpent cut through the waves like a knife, swiftly approaching the mysterious Pirate Island. As they neared the shore, the crew's anticipation grew. They could see the island's lush green forests, towering cliffs, and a beach that sparkled in the sunlight. But something about the island seemed off. "Land ho!" called out the lookout from the crow's nest. The crew cheered as they prepared to disembark. Captain Jolly Roger ordered the anchor to be dropped, and soon the pirates were rowing ashore in a small boat. As they set foot on the sandy beach, the crew was struck by the island's eerie silence. There were no sounds of birds chirping, no rustling of leaves, just an unsettling stillness. The only sound was the soft crunch of sand beneath their boots. "This place gives me the creeps," whispered Sneaky Pete, glancing around nervously. "Nonsense," boomed Captain Jolly Roger. "We're here to find treasure, not to be scared by a little quiet. Let's move." They followed the map into the dense forest, where the trees were tall and ancient, their twisted roots and gnarled branches forming a maze of natural obstacles. As they ventured deeper, the silence was broken by a low, rumbling voice. "Who dares to enter our domain?" The crew froze, looking around in confusion. The voice seemed to come from all directions, echoing through the trees. "It's the trees!" gasped Polly, her sharp eyes darting from one towering trunk to another. "They're talking!" Indeed, the trees were alive, their trunks splitting open to reveal eyes and mouths. The forest seemed to come alive as the trees began to sway and speak in unison. "You seek the treasure of Pirate Island," one of the trees said in a deep, booming voice. "But to pass, you must answer our riddles." Captain Jolly Roger, ever the optimist, stepped forward with a grin. "A riddle, eh? I love a good puzzle. Let's hear it, tree." The first riddle was simple enough. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?" The crew scratched their heads, trying to think. Captain Jolly Roger, always quick with an answer, blurted out, "A ghost." The trees shook their leaves, making a sound like laughter. "Wrong, wrong, wrong. Try again." Polly, who had been quietly pondering the riddle, spoke up. "An echo," she said confidently. The trees rustled in approval. "Correct. You may pass. But beware, there are more challenges ahead." The crew breathed a sigh of relief and continued their journey through the forest, guided by the map and the clues it held. Captain Jolly Roger couldn't help but chuckle at his own mistake. while Polly beamed with pride at having saved the day. Chapter 3. The Laughing Lagoon. After escaping the forest, the crew found themselves standing before a vast, shimmering lagoon. The water was crystal clear, reflecting the sky like a mirror. But as they approached the edge, something strange happened. The lagoon began to laugh. The sound was contagious, a chorus of giggles and guffaws that echoed across the water. The crew couldn't help but laugh along, even though they hadn't the faintest idea what was so funny. "It's enchanted!" cried Tiny Tim, his deep voice booming over the laughter. "How are we supposed to cross if we can't stop laughing?" Sneaky Pete tried to tiptoe around the lagoon, hoping to find a shallow spot to wade through. But the closer he got to the water, the louder the laughter became. His various disguises, a fish, a frog, even a log, only made the lagoon laugh harder. Captain Jolly Roger doubled over, clutching his sides as tears of laughter streamed down his face. We have to figure out how to stop this." But it was Tiny Tim who came to the rescue. Despite his immense size, he had the gentlest heart of them all. He walked up to the edge of the lagoon and, with a calm, soothing voice, began to hum a lullaby. The lagoon's laughter began to fade, replaced by a soft, peaceful silence. The crew, still chuckling, watched in amazement as the lagoon stilled completely, allowing them to cross without further trouble. "Well done, Tim," Captain Jolly Roger said, clapping the giant on the back. "You truly are a gentle giant." The crew crossed the lagoon safely, leaving behind the laughing waters and continuing their journey toward the treasure. But the sound of their own laughter lingered, keeping their spirits high as they marched on. Chapter 4. The Dancing Cave. The next challenge brought the crew to the entrance of a cave, its mouth dark and foreboding. But as they ventured inside, the walls began to move. It wasn't a simple rock slide or tremor. The walls were dancing. Lights flickered and glowed, illuminating the intricate patterns etched into the stone. The walls twisted and turned in a rhythmic dance, moving in time to an unheard beat. The crew watched in awe, realizing that this was no ordinary cave. It was alive with magic. "Look at that!" exclaimed Polly, her sharp eyes following the movements of the walls. "It's like a dance. We need to figure out the steps to get through." Captain Jolly Roger, never one to shy away from a challenge, took a deep breath and began to mimic the dance. But his clumsy attempts only made the walls spin faster, sending him tumbling to the ground. The rest of the crew tried to help, each taking turns to follow the dance. Tiny Tim's large feet stomped heavily, making the ground shake, while Sneaky Pete's attempts at sneaking past were met with the walls blocking his every move. It was Polly who finally cracked the code. With her keen eye for patterns, she noticed that the dance followed a specific sequence. "Follow my lead," she called out, and the crew did their best to copy her movements. Together, they danced their way through the cave, laughing at their own awkward steps but determined to succeed. Captain Jolly Roger, though not the best dancer, led the charge with his infectious enthusiasm, encouraging the crew to keep going. Finally, they reached the other side of the cave, breathless but triumphant. The walls slowed their dance, parting to reveal the next clue on the map. The crew cheered, high-fiving and congratulating each other on their victory. Chapter 5. The Guardian of the Treasure. After overcoming the challenges of the forest, the lagoon, and the cave, the crew arrived at the final destination marked on the map, the treasure chamber. But before they could claim their prize, they had to face one last obstacle: the Guardian of the Treasure. The Guardian was an ancient, wise old turtle, with a shell that glistened like gold and eyes that twinkled with mischief. He sat atop a mound of treasure, blocking the crew's path. "Ahoy there, travelers," the turtle said with a chuckle. "You've done well to make it this far. But before you can claim the treasure, you must pass one final test. A joke-telling contest." The crew exchanged puzzled glances. A joke-telling contest? This was unexpected. But Captain Jolly Roger, always up for a bit of fun, stepped forward. "A joke-telling contest, eh? I think we can handle that." One by one, the crew took turns telling jokes. Tiny Tim told a joke about a giant and a mouse. Sneaky Pete delivered a clever pun. And even Captain Jolly Roger had a go with one of his favorite sea shanties. But none of their jokes seemed to impress the turtle, who simply smiled and nodded. Finally, it was Polly's turn. The clever parrot had been quietly thinking of the perfect joke. And when it was her moment to shine, she delivered it with perfect timing. Why did the pirate go to the Caribbean? Polly asked, pausing for effect. Because he wanted some R&R. The turtle burst into laughter, his deep chuckles echoing through the treasure chamber. That's the best joke I've heard in ages, he said, wiping a tear from his eye. You've earned the treasure, fair and square. The crew cheered as the turtle stepped aside, revealing the glittering hoard of gold, jewels, and a magical item that glowed with a soft, warm light. It was the source of endless laughter, a gift that would bring joy to anyone who possessed it. Chapter 6. The Treasure. The crew gazed in awe at the treasure before them. It was more than they had ever imagined, chests filled with gold coins, sparkling jewels, and rare artifacts from distant lands. But the most intriguing item was a small, glowing orb that seemed to pulse with a gentle, joyful energy. Captain Jolly Roger picked up the orb, feeling its warmth spread through his hand. This must be the magical item, he said, his voice filled with wonder, the source of endless laughter. As he held it, the orb began to hum softly, filling the chamber with a light, happy melody. The crew couldn't help but smile as they listened, their hearts lifting with each note. We've done it, me hearties, Captain Jolly Roger declared, raising the orb high. We've found the legendary treasure of Pirate Island. The crew erupted in cheers, their voices echoing through the chamber. They had faced challenges, solved puzzles, and shared countless laughs along the way. And now they were finally rewarded with the treasure they had sought. But as they celebrated, Captain Jolly Roger realized something important. This treasure isn't just about gold and jewels, he said, looking around at his crew. It's about the adventure, the friendship, and the laughter we've shared. That's the real treasure. The crew nodded in agreement, their faces glowing with happiness. They knew that the journey had brought them closer together, and the memories they had made were worth more than any amount of gold. Chapter 7. The Return. With the treasure safely aboard the Sea Serpent, the crew set sail for home. The journey back was filled with laughter and stories, as they recounted their adventures and the challenges they had overcome. Captain Jolly Roger, always the life of the party, led the crew in a grand feast to celebrate their victory. They feasted on roasted fish, fresh fruit, and sweet pastries, toasting to their success and the bonds they had formed. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the ship, the crew gathered on deck to watch the stars. The orb of endless laughter sat in the center of the group, its soft light illuminating their faces. We did it, said Tiny Tim, his deep voice filled with pride. We found the treasure, and we did it together. Aye, agreed Sneaky Pete, his mischievous grin softer than usual. This was the best adventure we've ever had. Polly, perched on Captain Jolly Roger's shoulder, gave a contented chirp. And the best part is, we've got each other. That's worth more than any treasure. Captain Jolly Roger smiled, his heart full of gratitude for his crew. To the Sea Serpent and the best crew a captain could ask for, he said, raising his mug in a toast. The crew raised their mugs in return, their voices ringing out in a joyful chorus. To Captain Jolly Roger and the best adventure of all time. Chapter 8. The Hidden Village. As the Sea Serpent sailed through the night, the crew spotted something unusual on the horizon, a faint glow that seemed to come from a hidden cove. Curiosity piqued, they decided to investigate. When they arrived at the cove, they discovered a hidden village, nestled between the cliffs and the sea. The villagers, a friendly and welcoming group, greeted the pirates with open arms. The village was unlike anything the crew had ever seen. The houses were built from bamboo and palm leaves, decorated with colorful shells and flowers. The villagers wore bright, woven clothing, and their smiles were as warm as the tropical sun. We don't get many visitors here, said the village elder, a wise and gentle woman with long silver hair. But we welcome you to our home. Please, stay and join us for our festival. The crew accepted the invitation, eager to learn more about this hidden paradise. The festival was a lively celebration, filled with music, dancing, and delicious food. The villagers challenged the crew to a series of fun games and puzzles, each one more challenging than the last. Captain Jolly Roger, always up for a challenge, tried his hand at a coconut throwing contest, but his clumsiness got the better of him, sending coconuts flying in all directions. The villagers laughed good-naturedly, and even Captain Jolly Roger couldn't help but join in. Polly, ever the problem solver, took on a puzzle involving shells and sand, using her sharp mind to crack the code and win the game. Tiny Tim and Sneaky Pete also joined in the fun, their laughter echoing through the village. As the festival came to an end, the village elder presented the crew with a special gift, a map that led to a hidden cave filled with even more treasure. "Thank you for sharing this adventure with us," the elder said with a smile. "May this map lead you to even greater riches." The crew thanked the villagers for their hospitality and set sail once more, excited to follow the new map and see where it would lead. Chapter 9. The Stormy Seas. The journey to the hidden cave was not without its challenges. As the sea serpent sailed into uncharted waters, the skies darkened, and a fierce storm began to brew. Winds howled, and waves crashed against the ship, threatening to capsize it. The crew struggled to keep the ship on course, their hands gripping the ropes and their faces determined. Captain Jolly Roger, ever the optimist, took the helm, trying to steer the ship through the storm. But the winds were too strong, and the waves too high. The sea serpent was tossed about like a toy, and it seemed as though all hope was lost. But the crew refused to give up. Tiny Tim used his immense strength to hold the ship steady, while Sneaky Pete scrambled up the rigging to secure the sails. Polly flew through the storm, her sharp eyes guiding the crew through the treacherous waters. Working together, the crew managed to navigate the storm, their teamwork and determination seeing them through the worst of it. As the skies cleared and the seas calmed, they breathed a collective sigh of relief. "We did it!" Captain Jolly Roger said, his voice filled with pride. "We faced the storm and came out stronger on the other side." The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by the victory. They knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they could overcome them together. Chapter 10. The Final Treasure. With the storm behind them, the crew followed the map to the hidden cave, its entrance concealed by a waterfall. Inside, they found the final treasure, an enormous hoard of gold, jewels, and rare artifacts, all untouched by time. But as they gathered the treasure, they realized that the true prize was not the gold or jewels, but the experiences they had shared, the challenges they had overcome, and the bonds they had forged. Captain Jolly Roger looked around at his crew, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. "This has been the greatest adventure of my life," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "And it's all because of you, my friends." The crew smiled, their eyes shining with happiness. They knew that no matter where their next adventure took them, they would always have each other. And so, with the treasure safely aboard the sea serpent, the crew set sail for home, their hearts full of joy and their spirits high. They had faced the pirate island puzzle and come out victorious, not just in treasure, but in friendship and laughter. As the sea serpent sailed into the sunset, the crew knew that they would always treasure the memories of this incredible journey and the lessons they had learned along the way.